For the winner, we sent in a town crier. So like a hear ye, the winner of the... There was no Shopify. Like Shopify Plus was only a thing for about a year before that. I think we were the first Shopify Plus expert.
I just kind of happenstance landed at this company, and then it's just completely changed the trajectory of my life. 85% of the brands that we launched, we've done 300 of them, have been exactly on budget, which, is not 100%.
But that's insane.
Matt King is the successful co-founder of Domain, the world's largest independent Shopify design and development partner, purpose-built for ambitious and beloved brands. As pioneers and not just participants in their industry, they are inspired to write, break, and rewrite the rules for a new generation of commerce.
This is original content, me and you talking right now. So what AI is doing is basically summarizing the original content versus creating the content from scratch. Don't just outsource it to AI. Mac, first of all, thank you for coming on the podcast. I want to take it back a little bit here to, I think it was 2014. Do you know what I'm going to mention?
Was it the first time we hung out in like the basement pub in Ottawa, or?
I don't know if that predates, if this was before or after that, but we had a challenge we sent to Shopify. We at this stage of our company, we were actually, one year we set a goal to build an app a month, and we were like, well, Shopify gurus, are they still called gurus? Like the support team? They're not gurus anymore?
Not the preferred term anymore. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. But you were a guru before.
I was a guru.
Yeah. We were like, Shopify gurus probably know exactly what merchants want. So we did this competition. I think it was for $1,000. I can't remember.
Yeah, something like that. And a huge sum of money at the time for me.
It was yes. Sure. I mean, yeah, we got submissions for ideas for an app. And then for the winner, we sent in a town crier. Were you in the room when the town crier came?
I think I was, now that you mention it. Yeah.
Yeah. So like a hear ye, the winner of the whatever idea for an app or something. And he had a scroll and he read it, and you were the winner of that competition. Do you remember what the app was?
It was a donation app.
I thought it was the by the measurement app. Did you submit too?
No, well, maybe. I don't know. We should look. But from my memory, and this is, more than 10 years ago now, which is crazy. But yeah, I thought I submitted like an app for people could donate.
Well, we built it. Yeah. So, so then that one won, and we built it, and we actually ended up sunsetting it. I'm sorry. 9 years later. Okay. It did well. But there was another one. Okay. You know what? We had 3 winners, I think. I think we picked first, second, third. So,
I think mine was announced a little bit later or something.
Okay.
It wasn't part of it, but I remember the town crier, but I don't think I won right away. It was something afterwards.
Okay. And then we did a second pick or something.
Yeah.
And then fast forward a couple years to 2000, I think it was 16, you became our partner manager, and you phoned us up one day and you said, hey guys, we're starting this Shopify Plus experts program, and we're going to have Shopify Plus experts. So not just at the time, for those listening, there was just Shopify experts. There was no Shopify, like Shopify Plus was only a thing for about a year before that. And you said, I think we were the first Shopify Plus expert. You literally got on a call with us and you're like, hey guys, I obviously got to pick you, and we're starting the Shopify Plus expert thing. And so let's do this. Like that was pretty much the conversation. I remember you were sitting in a chair in one of the phone rooms in the Shopify office. You remember that call?
Right. No, I don't remember that call. Like I said, Jay, your memory is so good. I do not have the same memory as you, so I appreciate you reminding me of these things. But not, I remember you joining, but I don't remember how I told you.
To you, we were just a piddly little partner. To us, you were our Shopify partner manager. So
you know what? You weren't a piddly partner. I was really proud of Bold being in my portfolio. For me, Bold was was my biggest partner, or at least one of the biggest partners. And again, I was really to me, I felt honored that I got to manage Bold. You had such a big reputation, and everyone knew Bold, and Harley would talk about Bold on stage at conferences, and it was a big deal for me actually to be your manager.
Well, thank you, man. Thank you. Well, you were amazing. I remember you would fly out to Winnipeg and you would attend our events, and those were certainly days. I know companies evolve and Shopify's at different stages. I'm, of course, big fan of Shopify still. But those were like the golden years of partner managers, I would say. Like the partner program was growing and there was a lot of.
And the way we thought about it was different. That's the big difference between now and 10 years ago when it came to the Shopify partnerships, is that as a partner manager and as a partner team, we felt like we needed you all way more than you needed us. Like we were trying to build something. I had to convince people to become a Shopify Plus expert. I had to call, you guys were in obviously, as you always were, but some people I had to call and be like, hey, there's this new program launching, Shopify Plus experts, like, will you please be part of it? And I know that you're going to say no, but like, here's why you should do it. And now there's like a lineup of agencies that want to become a Shopify Plus partner. So
it's flipped. It's now the partners need Shopify. Shopify doesn't need the partners, almost, you could say.
Yeah, exactly.
But I still think it's symbiotic, but maybe it's shifted a bit. So now, fast forward again a little bit later, you've co-founded, Half Helix, but now Domain, and you're the co-founder of the largest Shopify agency in the world. What a crazy story you've had, starting as a Shopify support, moving into partner manager. You probably had other roles in there at Shopify that I don't even know about. And now you've built this incredible agency you're managing over $5 or $6 billion in GMV for merchants. You've had over 300 launches. Like, it's insane. Like, do you ever just take a second and look back at your last 10 years?
I do, actually. I do that quite often. I think I really practice gratitude, and I'm so thankful, and I feel very lucky to have been, given a lot of different situations in life. But one of them being, I'm from Ottawa. This just happens to be my hometown. And it happens to be this company called Shopify was growing in 2013 when I just moved home from a year abroad, and I got a gig as a guru. Even though I applied as a marketing person, they're like, you have no marketing experience, but how about customer service? I was like, yeah, you got it. So I just kind of happenstance landed at this company, and then it's just completely changed the trajectory of my life. As you mentioned today, now, we're the biggest Shopify agency, which is crazy. And not that the biggest means much, because what's important is being the best, right? And offering the best service and working with the best brands and providing the most value. Like, that's the important thing. But the scale is, because we have this scale, we can offer the best service. And because we have the scale we're very specific. Most other 300-person agencies, they do everything. They'll do a little bit of BigCommerce and Salesforce and Magento and Shopify, but we have just stayed locked in on Shopify, and I think that's what's been really special about the growth trajectory of the company.
It's amazing. I feel very much the same as you. I was a merchant on Shopify in 2009. I had stores on many other platforms before that. In 2009, moved one of them to Shopify.
Archery.
Yeah, that's right. Supreme Archery. Yeah. Ended up selling it to actually a guy. So like, we kept the stores because there was this app store, but at the time there was only I remember there was 10 apps and there was 20 apps, and they were all, I would say, connector apps. Like, they would connect your store to some accounting software or connect to some shipping software. Like, they weren't really front end functionality apps. It was more just to connect to other services. But my mind went right away to, what kind of app? I had a list of 100 ideas, like what's possible in the app store to build for my stores. And then we launched this upsell app in 2012. So again, I think there was around 20,000 merchants on Shopify in 2012, so somewhere around there. So I have very much the same sentiment as you, just gratitude for being lucky with timing. It's a very different world now, someone coming in and launching with an amazing app. And I talk to these app developers. They have an amazing app, an amazing product, been live for months. And I'll talk to them and they're like, yeah, we have 12 installs. Not because there isn't millions of users, but because there's, I don't even know, 14,000 apps. So
competitive.
It's competitive, right? So they've got a great app, a great product. And I'll tell you, way better than an app that we had in 2012. But it's a different world. So I'm very thankful for that. So.
And by the way, same thing with the services side. As I mentioned earlier, we used to beg companies to become Plus experts, which was not app specific. I know, Bold had a services arm at the time. I don't know if you guys still do, but
we shut down the service side, but we did. It was about 65 people at one point just on our services team. Yeah.
So that and it's a whole different world in the app side, and it's become much more competitive. And there's tiers, right? There's Shopify Platinum partners and Premier and Plus and all sorts of different metrics that you need to be able to maintain your tier. And
Yeah,
we know that we're the number one commercial partner of Shopify right now.
it's amazing.
So yeah, pretty wild. So we're the top of the top, which the 1%, I guess.
So what does Domain do?
Sure. Yeah.
Why would a brand, just to give some context here, so why would a brand come to Domain?
The simple explanation is that we help brands the large end of the spectrum, brands doing $10 million and up, but closer to our averages being in the $100 million range on Shopify. And of course, we have a number of the top 10 GMV brands on the platform as our clients. Number, I mean, 2 or 3. And then the other 7 are likely in-housing their development. But we offer a suite of services that surrounds the platform: creative, user experience, design, e-commerce strategy, engineering. Is really 65 to 70% of what we offer is really dev. That's mostly what our clients need, what brands on Shopify need access to. But what's surrounding it is the important stuff. People hire us because we know how to do engineering on Shopify, but they stay with us because of the e-com strategy and the attention to detail and our delivery prowess. And we launch 85% of the brands that we launch. We've done 300 of them, have been exactly on budget, which is not 100%.
Yeah, but that's insane.
But it's insane. These are all
you almost hear. I've heard like the exact opposite. 85% are over budget or closer to 100%.
Right. Yeah. And so, I think, and this is because we have this refinement of process, and we have these people who've been doing it for 5 years. The average tenure of a domain employee is over 5 years in the agency space. So
that's
we don't have
incredible.
people that learn on the job. It's
Wow.
like you come in and and a lot of times our team members have graduated from other Shopify agencies and kind of like come into the fold afterwards. But yeah, the very simple thing that we try and do is do exactly what we say we will, which is a lot easier said than done.
Right.
The best analogy for what agencies do is like construction, right? Where it's the same team.
Mm-hmm.
There's a project manager, there's a designer, there's an architect, there's an engineer,
Yep.
Any construction project, a physical construction project in your hometown. And think about how often that physical construction project, they're building a train or a light rail station or a new subway stop. How often is it delayed by 6 months, a year, over budget by $10 million? And that's always. Yeah, right. So that's the analog is still also true for web development, web engineering. I think we've just figured out a better way to do it, so we don't have to go through those delays.
And you also have an offering for, just so anyone listening goes, wow, geez, well, I'm not doing $100 million a year. Turn off this episode. You do have a product or service. It's called Studio.
Yep. Yeah. Great point. So we also acquired an agency called AbleSense. Aaron Whitman.
Oh yeah.
You must know Aaron.
Yeah.
His company, he sold it to us about 2.5 years ago, right before he merged. Half Helix and Tomorrow were the two companies that merged to form Domain. But right before that happened, we bought AbleSense and created our mid-market offering, our kind of SMB to mid-market offering. So brands who are doing that $0 to $10 million in GMV, who are on that growth trajectory, but they want the support of people who have been there before and who kind of know what they're doing and what these brands are in for. So our Domain Studio offering is more of our quick launch program. So, for example, we just launched we're helping brands get live in 8 to 10 weeks, starting at $50K, which is like numbers that aren't possible on our domain side. So it's a very quick launch and kind of a reasonable price point. That's the whole strategy behind the Domain Studio offering. And the big difference is the team size and the way that the teams are structured. So Domain, you basically have access to this kind of full dedicated project team, between 10 to 12 people, depending on what we're doing. And if there's backend development or backend engineering, for example. And then on the Domain Studio side, you'll have access to like 2 core team members, a project manager and an engineer, and they'll be able to pull in resources as they need them that are not dedicated to the project. So we kind of keep it leaner, keep it meaner, and be able to work with different budget types.
Nice. And then maybe eventually one day they graduate into different levels too, right? So
yes,
makes sense. Probably the question that comes up a lot is, do I do this in-house? Do I hire freelancers or like contractors, dev contract? Do I go to, I don't know, places like Upwork? There's like, if you type in Shopify in there, you'll find hundreds of people and this. Or why would someone choose to work with an agency versus maybe doing it in-house? Does that come up? Is that
Yeah, all the time. I mean, and people at all ends of the spectrum have in-house teams. Brands that are doing 500 million online, want to all do it all in-house. And oftentimes, the way we work with that kind of brand, Harry's is an example. We did, the Harry's Razor site. They have their own dev team, right? And they're quality developers, but they don't know Shopify. So they're migrating to Shopify. How do they figure out the right way to use the platform? Well, they work with a team like us in order to collaborate on the project and then hand off the code base to them after it's done, right? So that's the beautiful thing about using Shopify. So you're not like attached to this developer for a long term. So that's happening at the very high end, right? This kind of co-development process that we're going to eyes wide open. At the end of the project, the site becomes yours, the code becomes yours. You're fully trained on it, and you can take over. And then, of course, there's like the other end of the spectrum, right? Which is like, as you mentioned, you can find a Shopify developer at any price point. You can go to Upwork, you can go to Fiverr and pay $5 for a Shopify developer if you want. You're just getting a different value scale. So, and it really depends on what people's budget are, how much they can spend, how much they want to spend, how big of a plan they have for their brand. Now, I can't really speak to what like that looks like to hire an Upwork or a Fiverr developer. I don't know what the quality is. I've never done it, but I can talk to like the trends that we see of people who choose us over other agencies, right? Because even amongst the agency landscape, we're usually about 30 to 40% more expensive than our peers in this space. Yet our win rate's really high, so we still get chosen more often than some of our peers. That's why we've been able to grow, and so that means like the value equation. But the people who end up choosing us are the ones who are thinking a little bit more longer term about their brand and their position in the market and what they need and how much more they need than just access to a developer, right? Like how much they need access to strategy and this kind of email marketing, personalization, other components of the actual website experience that you're not going to get just by having a developer, and even more specifically by having a developer in like a different culture, a different area, or someone you can't talk to, during the day. All of our devs are online, on Slack, and client facing. So our clients are communicating with us in real time.
That's amazing because a lot of agencies I know, they shield their devs.
Yeah.
They don't let you talk to them. You have a project manager and you're kind of going through this person and they relay the information because they want to protect the developer time. But then it's amazing what you can accomplish in a 30-minute call with a developer on the line, and you tell them and they can troubleshoot, brainstorm, and come up with like what might have been 30 hours, maybe could be done in 3 hours. So if with that process, I'm willing to bet that even if you say that Domain's a premium agency and maybe a bit more expensive, you might end up being less expensive because you're more efficient. Like you're coming to a solution that is the right efficient. You're not overbuilding, over architecting. You're doing the right thing because you're bringing in, because I do see agencies might have, like, you can't just look at the hourly rate. If it means that it's going to take 4 phone calls or 4-hour calls to go back and forth through a project manager versus with Domain, if you can talk to a developer for 30 minutes, get to a solution, it's not apples to apples.
It's not apples to apples. But also there's that point, which is it might take longer to do the same thing with someone that you can't speak to directly. For sure, that is true. The other part of it is, especially when it comes to the code and engineering, like code, it's not evergreen. It doesn't last forever. So like, how is this it might get done faster, but if the code degrades or the site speed is slow, or if you're using too many apps that are kind of bogging down the front end of your website, then it didn't matter that it got done faster, because it means you're gonna have to do it again in a year or in 2 years. So like, how do you build something that's more robust, scalable, fast, performant? I think that's where you're really paying for experience.
Yeah.
Is like the difference between like a short-term or a long-term solution.
What's probably the biggest win that brands could see? I mean, I know there's a range of services that they can get through Domain, but like, if every brand had, I don't know, $5,000 or $10,000 that they said, I want to improve my site, I'm investing back into my, not just my site, my e-commerce business. This can fall under SEO and marketing and site and brand or email or something. But like, if someone listening is right now, they're seeing some growth and they're like, I want to invest money into the growth. What is the best value that that you think they could do?
Sure. Really hard question. because there's so many different ways that you can take an answer. And so I'll give an answer that's top of mind for me right now that I'm not sure is the perfect answer to your question in general. I think there's probably more like other low hanging fruit that's more prescient than the way I'm going to respond. But one way that I think brands can invest right now is through AI search, is making sure that they're showing up more through AI search engines like ChatGPT, Perplexity, and Claude, and Google, and everything else. What we're noticing amongst our clients, so we did an analysis of website traffic trends, which is we have 95 active clients in the very specific segment on Shopify, right? The high end of the platform. The site traffic is flat. It's not changing much over the last 12-month period. Site traffic has been consistent. I think that many brands are noticing this right now too, is that it's not like it was 3 or 4 years ago when everything was just going up for no real reason. I think site traffic is being consistent. Outlier to that is site traffic coming from AI search engines. It is growing exponentially right now amongst the data on all of our clients. We know that we've looked at some external data sources as well through Mintel. AI search is growing exponentially. However, it's still a small percentage of traffic. So amongst all of our clients, it represents less than 1% of their overall site traffic, right? This is a combined view. But if a brand wants to be a first mover and invest in this before it hits a fever pitch, now is the time to do it, because AI search engines they're pulling. It's kind of like SEO 1.0 back when it was like, I'm sure Jay, you're an internet guy from the, you're probably right there in that time period where like you kind of do this hack, like you could build a little landing page of like, what's the best Shopify app? And then that will get picked up and you'd be right in the first page of their Google results. Like you can do the same thing right now with AI search.
I was before that. I was doing SEO when you would make words the same color as your background.
That's crazy.
To hack it. That was like 1997.
Okay.
And to rank first in Yahoo. But
you know what? That's my point, right? So that kind of hack, those are actually, available for brands right now on AI search. Like it's that kind of like AI. Google got really good at SEO and ranking companies through their page. AI search is not there yet, surprisingly. And everyone thinks AI is the future. It's so smart. They're not nearly as smart as Google for when it comes to like actually delivering quality results yet. So therefore, there's an opportunity for brands to be able to hack that in this current moment in time. Probably not a huge opportunity. There's the 6 to 8 month window. So something that we're obsessed with right now as a company is helping our brands do that. Like, how do we get people to show up when folks are searching? I got invited to this event the other day, and they said the attire is Hamptons high-end casual. And I thought, what the bleep does that mean? So I went on ChatGPT and looked up, what's dress code Hamptons high-end casual.
I wouldn't know either.
I think, yeah, right. So yeah. And then I started shopping on ChatGPT. They delivered me and I preferred the brand Vince. ChatGPT gave me Essence, and they gave me a marketplace to buy Vince off of. What they didn't give me was Vince.com. So what does that tell you? Well, it tells you that like Vince could have gotten the direct-to-consumer site could have gotten my business. Instead, I went to one of the aggregator sites or a marketplace site. Now, a marketplace site wasn't carrying Vince. I wouldn't even got served them at all. It would have just said, nope, go somewhere else, try something different. So, and there's real basic SEO hacks and not just hacks, but SEO work that brands can do to show up on AI search right now. And I think that's, to me, it presents a big opportunity. And it's a little bit early, but it's going to be big.
So how does Shopify catalog play into that? Like Shopify is really investing in making the product structure and data and product schema be very indexable by AI. They're adding in a lot more data points that it used to just be like you'd have the color, size, material, maybe, the attributes that Google would need. But for AI, it's like, what does the fit feel like? Is it like there's a lot more that AI can pull out. And so my understanding is Shopify is going to make that broadly available. Like if you're on Shopify, by default, your products should be very readable by AI. The thing that Shopify does is it's great. I love it, but it also like always levels the playing field. Like I remember like in 2009, when I put my first store on Shopify, I remember like I was better than all my competitors because my store looked good and it was mobile friendly, like in 2009. But now every store is mobile friendly.
Right.
And it's always like the next thing, like you have a fast checkout. Now every store has a fast checkout. That's the beauty, but also the challenge is you will have products that are indexed by AI, but so will all your competitors. So how do you get that one step ahead then?
Well, here's how you make up for that, and is by taste. Like, if you have better taste, if your site makes people feel something, if you have a better branded experience, if your imagery is beautiful, if the way that your spacing is in your website works, if the transition time between page to page, you know that feeling when you're kind of like, when you get lost on a website, all of a sudden you're like halfway down an About Us page, you're like, why am I here? You know, it just feels like the website feels good. You know, that's taste. And like, that's the evergreen part of all of this. You're absolutely right about features and functionality, and Shopify keeps releasing all these things on the platform level that are making things easier for everyone else. But the way to really stand out, the way to create like a long-term brand is not, don't think of yourself as a merchant. Think of yourself as a brand. You're building a branded website. You're building something that makes people feel something. And that's how you stand out amongst this, as you mentioned, level playing field for all these different online brands.
What do you think about content right now? Has content become more important? Like something we're thinking about at Bold is I get all the time now, someone will say like, hey, we found your product through ChatGPT. And then I'll go and I'll search. I was like, oh, what did you ask it? What was the prompt? And I'll go and I'll look, I'm like, oh, dang, nice. ChatGPT recommended us. But then I'll do another prompt and it won't recommend us. Like it, you know. So one of the things I notice that I think might be a hack right now, if you want to call it that, is ChatGPT always adds sources. And it's relatively easy. Like I notice some of our blogs, if we have a stat that having a bundle on a product can increase conversion 20%. I don't know if that's a true stat, but just use that as an example. But if we have that on a blog and then someone asks ChatGPT, do bundles work on Shopify? It references that, whatever stat we have. So like, I haven't experimented with this, but I know blogs have kind of been, I don't want to say dead, but not used a lot by e-commerce stores in the last 10 years. I wonder if now they're more important than ever.
Oh yeah.
To now get as a source back into the AI searches.
Dude, absolutely. And not only, as you mentioned, for brands, for companies like us too, you know, for Bold, for Domain. Yeah, blogs are back, baby. You know, and maybe it's not SEO 1.0 because we're not making like same colored text that's like crawlable in the background. That's like a real hack. But 1.2, you know, SEO 1.2, which is like content, on-site content and off-site content. We've got a client called Fellow. They have coffee products, coffee machines, Fellow.
Yeah.
So we're doing an exercise with them where we're looking for like, what are they ranking for? What are some of the AI search terms that are going to be working? And what we realize is like some of their competitors have their own hosted content that is then helping them rank highly like above them. So yeah, your own blog. It doesn't matter where it is. Again, ChatGPT is not smart enough yet to make that leap that like your own content might be biased. So you can create your own content that is biased, that points back to your own brand, and own it on your own website. So it's pretty easy.
Yeah, Google's ahead of that because now you can post as many blogs as you want, but unless other people are linking to it and you have page authority and Google doesn't show it, but AI, now is the time to maybe take advantage of that. I'll throw one tip that I learned, I'll share. So our recommendation is if anyone listening to this right now is thinking about just using ChatGPT to create the blogs or Claude or whatever tool, they will, if you just go to it and if you say, you know, you can have an amazing prompt. You can say, I want to create a blog post about, let's say you sell travel luggage, fashion, high-end travel luggage and something about it. It's like, you want to create a blog about how to protect your suitcase on the conveyor belt or something like this, or how to clean it. And if you ask ChatGPT to create a 500 to 800 word blog post on how to travel with high-end luggage that you don't want to damage and create some steps, products to use, and it runs and creates a blog post, that will get detected as created by AI every time. But if so these podcasts that I've been doing, I turn them into blog posts after, and I use AI to turn them into a blog post, and I run them through AI detectors. There's Grammarly has one, and there's a couple other that you can search, and it comes up as 0% AI. And the reason why is this is original content, me and you talking right now. So what AI is doing is it's basically summarizing the original content versus creating the content from scratch. And so if there's a way, if you're wanting to leverage AI for blogs. I'm a big fan of leveraging AI, but don't just outsource it to AI. Create an audio file, talk to something, go on a podcast, record something, and then use that as the source that creates the blog post, and then run it through. Grammarly, I found, has a really good AI detection one. And there's another one. I'm drawing a blank on the name right now, but I'll put it in the show notes, and they'll almost always come up as like 0 or 1% chance it's AI, versus if you just go to it, they're always like 98%. I don't know how it detects it, but the structure maybe or something, but as long as it's based on original content,
okay,
it seems to do really well. So anyways, that's one piece of advice I'll throw in there, because
I think that's a fire piece of advice. I'll add on to that. I would use Whisperflow for voice to text dictation. It's a great tool. You can just kind of speak into it on your computer, and then it'll basically dictate all of your thoughts, and it'll edit it and make it a little more clear. And then you can take the Whisperflow text, put it into a ChatGPT interface, make a blog post from that.
Nice.
It should come up as 0% AI.
Yeah, test it for sure. Yeah. I love that.
I want a LinkedIn Chrome extension now that detects AI, because
oh my gosh, then that would 90% of LinkedIn.
I'm worried that just everything on that platform is just AI now. And are we just like having robots speak to each other on our behalfs? Is that what's happening? It's,
when you see all the posts that are super structured, they start with like a statement and the question, and then they have 3 bullet points and a bit too many emojis.
Right.
Yeah. And part of me wonders, I'm the same way. Like, I don't engage with them because it feels unauthentic, but is that just for the time being? Like, are we going to get used to that? And will the younger generation engage? I don't know. Right. Like, I think the jury's still out on that, but I feel 100% the same way as you. So yeah, I think it's great to use AI. I don't want to go on too much of an AI tangent, but I use it for research, for pulling stats, like for that, and then write your content yourself. But it's an amazing tool you can cut down 90% of your time on any content you create, but still add your touch in it.
Yeah, I agree. And again, what it's done is it's made taste the important part. If you have no taste and you're just using AI to just create something entirely for you, or then it's going to be clear. And again, that goes back to the same point of like, you're not creating evergreen, you're not creating branded content, you're not creating a brand, you're just contributing to like this like dump of information on the web.
One thing I wanted to chat about was, you mentioned you're seeing a bit of a slowdown in the economy a little bit right now. What are some of the things you're doing with brands to help them still grow and still be successful during this little bit of I don't know if it's a slump or slowdown. I think people are being a little tight with their wallets, the stuff happening in the political scene, or who knows, tariffs, whatever the reason is, there's a bit of a slowdown. So what are some tactics you're working with brands?
It's true. Yeah. We're noticing that, like I said, it's not a red alarm fire drill, but pretty consistently, it's not easy to come across for customer acquisition right now, to come across big sales. To that old strategy that worked, mid-pandemic is not working anymore. So one of the ways that we're thinking about brands who can, like, how do we transition to understanding what's really important, is transitioning to more of a on-site strategy, user experience, conversion rate optimization. How do you do more with the traffic that's already there, with the customers that are already landing on your website? I don't think the answer is just like dump more money into paid media, but the way that we look at it is, how do we do more with what you have with your current customers? And there's a number of ways. First, the on-site way to do that is, what does the user experience look like? How can you do some A/B testing, first click testing? There's a lot of nifty tools in the web where you can input a website and and pay for 500 users to tell you what the first thing they click on when they view your website. And that data is really useful. Where's the attention going to? I think that's a way that like anyone can do it themselves, the DIY version, right? Sign up for usertesting.com, sign up for a first click, website tool, and run some tests on your own. Because on the other scale, on like the high end scale, it can get quite expensive. Strategy work is very engaged, and it's also not a sure thing. A/B testing means you're testing two different options. It doesn't mean that one of them is going to be better than what you currently have. That said, you're any kind of agency, or if you're doing it in-house, or if you're seeking advice, people should have a bag of tricks. There are things that we know work for every one of our clients. Here's an example: a cart page versus a mini cart slider. If you have your own a page dedicated to the cart, you're losing converts right there. So
100% of the time.
100% of the time. Every single site you see domain launch has a cart slider instead of a cart page. Every single one.
Wow.
So that's just the blanket statement that I know works, and every brand listening to this should adopt that immediately. Aside from that, it can get pretty intense and specific about how you really should make changes in the user experience of your website. And then there's other tools you can think about, right? Which is, again, doing more with your existing customers. Well, how do you do more with them? How do you meet them where they are? Is it a mobile app? You want to use a tool like Reactive. We know Zach and Ross and what they're building over there. Like that's special. I think this is the way that customers can interact with brands they love in a way that feels more intimate to them. And again, I use the word brand, not merchant, because they want to interact with the brand. Remember, that's at the forefront of this entire strategy. It's at the forefront of our entire ethos as a company, as an agency, which is like people should be building better branded experiences for their customers. And a mobile app is a big part on that spectrum.
I think just two things I want to pull out of that there, because it's funny. We've had this internal debate many times. Do we call our customers merchants or brands? And we pretty much say brands all the time, but there's been some pushback. So the one argument for the merchant side is that they say smaller businesses don't see themselves as a brand. They see themselves as a merchant. But I would argue that even if you're one person, you should see yourself as a brand. And the words we use to describe ourselves matter. And it's if you call yourself a loser all day long, you're going to start believing it. If you call yourself a brand all day long, you'll start believing it. You'll be a brand. You'll think about consistency and how you talk, and you'll think of you're a brand, like your packaging. It's just, I'm a big proponent of the word brand. Even if you're one person, you're not like a brand, like a big company. That language matters. I wanted to just hone in on that.
Dude, I'm right there with you. And while I agree that merchant is probably more specific of a term, but it doesn't make me feel anything. And that's part of building a brand, is feeling something, and so merchant makes me feel like someone's selling fish in a market. That's not what I want to be like. We want to build brands and something that makes you feel something that is more than just being kind of a merchant that has like a stand in like an old market, and I think merchant was like a word that Toby used as like a English second language person in 2009 that has just stuck. And I think it's in need of an update personally.
Yeah. Didn't you? I think I saw you post on LinkedIn the other day. Stop calling people merchants.
Yeah. Yeah.
I knew that was not an AI generated post.
Right.
Okay. And then the second thing I wanted to kind of pull out what you said, I think you're kind of getting to it and maybe talking around a little bit, is when you say optimizing your existing customer, first party data, to me, right now, this is probably the most important time to leverage your email lists, your SMS lists, your customers that are in, but also to invest in getting more on that list. And the only way that a lot of brands, they have a pop-up, they give away a coupon for 10% off to get an email, or they get an email when someone purchases something. We do these, well, you probably know if you listen to the show, these 1% wins, which is these short little episodes. And I had this thought the other day, and I know that you're a big believer in leveraging first party data as well too. And it made me think of this, the best brands in the world maybe convert 4 or 5%. I don't know. I think the most I've ever heard of is 10%, but I think the industry average is 2 or somewhere around there.
3 somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that means 95% of customers who come to your store leave with absolutely nothing. It's a weird thing to think about. Imagine a retail store, imagine Target or Walmart or something. 95% of customers walk in and they walk out. Mm-hmm. It's bizarre. And I know some of them are bots and whatever, but not that many. So what could you give to that 95% that are leaving as a way to start a relationship with them? Like some kind of offer. Could it even be a gift? Like the example I used in the other episode was like, I don't know, if you're a health company, can you give a shaker bottle, like a free shaker bottle, like literally claim your shaker bottle, claim it, not get 10%, like not a coupon, but like claim it. We'll ship it to you today. And it costs you $10, but you're acquiring their information. You're sending them something, you're building a relationship. And when you put that in light of like how much you're spending on ads, it's probably, and I would be willing to bet if you ran a cohort analysis, like everyone that acquired a gift, and it doesn't even have to cost anything. It could be like download a $39 ebook on health and wellness that you've written, but you'd give it away for free to visitors, or like something to start that relationship. I think now I would love to hear your thoughts on it too, but like in this kind of slump we're seeing is probably more important than ever.
Yeah, I think that's a really clever strategy, right? How do you go above and beyond to gain that customer record and that information? Because to me, that's the big unlock, is how do you do more with the customers that you are already part, that 95% of people who you might even have their email because they've abandoned their carts, or you sent them a free product, but they've never bought something from you before. And the reason for that is they have intent, meaning they've been to your site, they've filled out some sort of form, they've given you their email along the way, but it was never quite right. So how do you make something a little bit more correct for them, a little more on brand for that individual customer? And the way that we think about it is through personalized experiences. I think we encourage our clients to use email marketing to segmentation, first off, and invest in the cleanliness and hygiene of your email and SMS list, and make sure that you're not just blasting the same message to everyone on your list or every active person on your list. That's not an effective strategy. You have this gold mine here, but how do you build one site per customer? So, we know that Sally's a lady in her mid 40s and Peter's a young man who's 26 years old. You sell home appliances. Peter's interested in this, new type of blender that's on your website, and Sally might be interested in a mixing bowl. So how do you send an email to the same two people with the same kind of structured format, so you're not kind of reinventing the wheel each time, but you're using technology to personalize that email experience, that email flow, and then the website that they land on after they've clicked the email. So they don't want to click a blender and then land on a couch. They click a blender, they land on the blender, they make the purchase. So think about like the full personalized experience from soup to nuts. It sounds so simple, but a lot of brands are not doing this. And for good reason, actually. It's actually fairly new technology. Klaviyo just released this API, for example, where they're allowing folks to be able to plug into personalization tools on the website. And so you can actually start with personalized content through email and then carry that through with this connected tissue API onto the website after they've clicked it. It does require a little bit of setup. It's a little bit more technical when it comes to email marketing, but these are the kind of tricks that actually have real value to them.
Yeah. I've seen some brands doing some pretty creative things with when they have their questionnaire or giveaway. Actually, I was on a site the other day. Might have been Dr. Squatch. I can't remember. Actually, I loved their pop-up. I think it was them. Instead of
Their client, by the way.
Are they a client? Did you do their pop-up where
we did? We worked with them a couple of years ago. They're not current, but they're one of the ones that took over the site afterwards.
Okay. So their current pop-up, it's like pick your prize kind of thing. So rather than just 10% off, there's 3 boxes, and I think they jumble around a little bit quickly. And then it's like pick one, and then it unlocks it. First of all, it's just a great visual experience. You pick it, it opens, there's confetti or something, and then you get 15% off. It's not spin the wheel. It's a little bit more simple, full screen takeover. And then I think they do this, or I might have seen it in another one, but there's like a couple questions. It'll be like, I don't know, do you struggle with skin irritation, or is there any issues with like certain like lotions, or are you here for the like super long protection or for great smelling? What's more important to you? Or just a couple questions like that. And then you get your code. But I know that what they're doing then is they're tagging that person. And then when it goes into their whatever email tool they're using, there's a tag that they care about great smelling deodorants, or they care about ones that don't irritate the skin or that are aluminum free or something like that. And then they segment their lists and they create different campaigns with the main headlines about our aluminum free deodorants or our 24-hour protection or whatever it is.
It's so simple, but it's such a meaningful piece of information, a piece of data on their customer segmentation. I mean, yeah, no wonder that they're seeing growth, and Dr.
Yeah.
Squatch is doing what they're doing. What a good strategy.
Yeah.
Well, I want to kind of flip the script. We don't get enough chance to talk, and I see this Bold in the background. And what I'm used to, when we used to have conversations in 2015, I was always interested. I was learning about you and your business, where you guys are at. I mean, I'm really keen to hear what's exciting for you right now. You've heard about AI from our side and how we're thinking about making like the branded experiences, what that looks like. But what's exciting to Bold right now? What are you focused on currently on the business side? I'm so curious.
Man, you're like the first guest that has asked that. I'm so thankful. Thank you for asking. Right now, the thing that is really, I think, that's really important to us, not that I think that is, we've been doing subscriptions since 2014. In 2014, if you did subscriptions, like you were ahead of the game. It was like if you had cat food and you sold it on subscription, you were better than your competitors. And fast forward now, like subscriptions are kind of table stakes. Everyone has a subscription. If you don't have a subscription, I like to say it's kind of like become a billing and a shipping decision. It's like some people will subscribe to cat food and some people don't, but it's not like a differentiator if you have a subscription. But what is a differentiator is creating an experience where customers feel like members and they feel like VIPs. They feel like you know them, that there's exclusive benefits, exclusive access, exclusive pricing, that there's relationship. And so about a year and a half ago, we looked at all of our apps and we kept getting customers asking us like, hey, I want to do VIP pricing for my subscribers. And like we looked at our sales pipeline and like half of them were around VIP pricing. And then we looked and like, oh man, we got this customer pricing app that we literally built it to do customer specific pricing.
Right.
That you can, when a customer logs in, they can be wholesale or they can VIP gold, platinum, different levels of pricing. And then we've got the subscription app, but they could work together, but it took some work. So we thought, well, let's make that seamless. And then we have this upsell app, which lets you create these like targeted offers that are different for each person. So you talk about personalization, like depending what someone is buying, it'll offer a different product. And now it has AI upsells. So it's like even the same product can have different offers for different people based off of what's in their cart, what they've bought before, a whole bunch of other things. But then we thought, yeah, subscribers in their member portal should get exclusive offers that are unique to them. And so not just a blanket offer of the month, but you have 20 different subscribers. They all log into their portal. They all get a unique offer. Or in that upcoming email that, your subscription is going out in 3 days. Do you want to add this last minute offer? But it should be different for every person based on what they're subscribed to. So we integrated our upsell and subscription app. Now, I think this episode is, so depending when this comes out, we've got a new app that it's actually in beta right now.
Okay.
And it's also tying this all together, but that works with subscription because like what we've realized is, the jobs to be done theory.
No.
It's like, I don't know, this shirt I'm wearing. Yes, it keeps me warm and it stops you from seeing my, my naked body, but it serves a purpose too, right? Like I always wear a black shirt on a podcast. So the job it's doing is not just keeping me warm. It's a brand, it's whatever, right? Same thing. And so like the job to be done of something of a coffee isn't necessarily, let's see, if you buy it on your drive to work, it's to keep you entertained, right? And so it's like once you understand what the job to be done is of a product, Clayton Christensen came up with this theory, if anyone listening wants to Google it. And so the job to be done of subscriptions, like what subscriptions told the world was, these are going to be convenient. You'll get the product when you want it every month. But what they actually did is I'm sure you've been in this experience, is like you subscribe to something, but you haven't used your last month's yet. You got too much, you have too little, you get frustrated, and you end up just canceling the subscription. And so I've done it. I did it with my greens powder because I had too many, then I had too little. Then I was like, you know what? It's just be easier if I just order this when I need it, because it's kind of like a click anyway, because it kept building up in my shelf. And what customers want is they don't actually want your product on a fixed, rigid schedule. They want it when they need it, when they run out of it. And except unless you have like a pill bottle that's 30 pills that needs to be replaced every 30 days. But like, how often do you need your protein powder? Like, you don't know, right? And so we're basically building, we're tying this all together into a cohesive, we're basically calling it Bold Suite, with a new bit of functionality that is essentially predictive AI subscriptions. So on-demand replenishment with VIP access, with customized upsells and cross sells. So you get you'll get notified. We think you are running out of cat food. Click here to ship your next one. And then did you want to add a cat toy, any cat treats? But because you're also a member of this, you get VIP pricing. I'm giving you a bit of a sneak peek here actually before. So like,
It sounds cool.
This episode will be out in a few weeks. So I think it'll be okay. It's actually in beta as we speak right now. It's not live in the App Store. We're personally inviting people onto it. But I think it's so the job to be done, going back to that kind of principle, is like subscriptions didn't serve the job. Subscriptions are a tool. Here's the best example. It's like, if I'm shopping for nails, let's just say, and I go to a nail store and they're like, why do you need these? Or why do you need the hammer? Better example. Why do you need this hammer? Well, I need to put nails in a wall. Well, why do you need nails in a wall? Well, because I need to put a shelf there. Well, why do you need a shelf there? Because I need somewhere to put my books. Okay. Well, let's talk about that. We have a better solution for books. So everyone's shopping for a hammer right now, thinking like a subscription tool is going to solve everything. But what they really want is they want that customer for life. And so when you think about the job to be done versus the tool, you end up with the right solution, right? It's like transportation. Like Mercedes knows the job to be done of a car is to move you around. Eventually, Mercedes is investing heavily in what's it called? Like the ride sharing service, basically, because they know that like car ownership is on the decline, and eventually people might not buy cars, but Mercedes still wants to be in the business of moving people around. And so we want to be in the business of creating great programs where customers stay around forever. And subscription is a tool in that, but it's not the whole picture. So
it's very exciting and it's very on brand for you. You guys have always been innovators. Like, here's the hard part about what you just told me, which is that you're creating a new demand. Like, people don't know they need this other. People think they needed a hammer. They don't know they need a new solution.
100%.
So you're going to have to create the demand for the thing that you know is the real solution for these brands. But it's not something you've done. It's not something you haven't been able to do before. You built the apps for Shopify before there was front end applications. And so that didn't exist before you'd done it. So it's kind of the next step on that same bold playbook, which is, no pun intended. I think it fires me up. It's exciting to hear that you're still innovating and you guys are still putting this much passion and thought into releasing these new products.
Well, thanks, man.
So the thing that wasn't happening when Bold started, that now we see a lot of in the Shopify space, obviously, like there's these kind of like large scale single branded companies that offer one product. Right? Did you think about branding it separately and having kind of be its own thing and its own kind of like, and maybe we can cut this out if
you're like reading my mind, man. Yes.
Yeah.
It is. It's got its own name too.
Wow.
And it's got its own persona, I want to say, without giving away too much.
Cool.
So it is a thing that it stands alone. We're not hiding that it's going to be part of Bold, but it's its own. Yes, 100%. And what's so interesting? I mean, you're very observant. Like, we've struggled with this. We at one point had 36 apps.
Mm-hmm.
Like we've gotten a lot more focused over the years, and
didn't you go to like other ecosystems and come back to like,
yeah, we launched apps on BigCommerce, on Woo, and
right.
we're just on Shopify now. Like
Yeah.
there was a bit of traction there, but it was generally a waste of time.
Yeah.
Like bang for buck, like for every hour spent over there, it was a penny return versus Shopify. Like it's a better ecosystem for so many reasons. But it was interesting because I remember when we had a returns app, we had a loyalties app, we've done subscriptions, and we would see a loyalty app raise $20 million or more with a crazy valuation. And we would look at it and we'd go, man, we have more users. We're making more ARR on our loyalty app. But we were seen as a Swiss Army knife for Shopify. We weren't seen as like to investors. You want to say like, we want to own loyalty, or we want to own returns. Like we want to own subscriptions. Right. And so I think that has hurt us a bit from the investment side for sure. I mean, we've done pretty well with raising, so I'm not like overly concerned about it, but the perception is, unless you are a singular focused and a market leader, investors have a hard time wrapping their head around it. But lately, like you look at brands like Shop Circle and others that are just like
Clearer and
they're raising a lot of money and they're basically just acquiring a lot of Shopify apps. So I think that perception has changed a little bit, but we're not making product decisions based off of that. Like if investors don't get it, that's okay. But the ones that we have, our board, like they get it, like, and they're invested and they understand it. So, but you're bang on. It has definitely been a challenge for so many reasons. So yeah, this one will and then you're perceptive for another reason too. The fact that you notice that like we're pushing boundaries. Like it's funny when in 2012, because you joined Shopify in 2013.
Yep.
Yeah. So 2012, we launched our upsell app, and when it went live, Toby actually got mad at us.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Cause we kind of hacked the APIs.
Well, also your brand name at the time, we should
okay, fair enough. The brand was Shopify, which was genius. Come on.
I love
apps for Shopify. But that wasn't what he was mad about when Shopify went public. They asked us politely to Harley messages like, hey, would you guys mind changing your name? I think there was a number of Shopify.
There was a bunch. I was part of that team, by the way. That we went out and there were Shopify Ninjas and Shopify theme builders, and there's a bunch of different ones that we had to talk about.
Which I totally get. No, the reason why Toby was upset was, so like one of the first early big brands on Shopify was the Chive.
Yep.
Keep Calm and Chive On. And this was when they used our upsell app, and when they would have some promotion on Instagram, they would post like all t-shirts, 25% off. They would get a ton of traffic to their site. Our upsell app would start firing. And for each fire, it's like 3 or 4 API calls. It like checks what product to offer. It checks inventory. And if they accept the offer, there's an API call to like add it to the cart and whatever. But it would take down all of Shopify, like every single store, because this one store was getting like 100,000 API calls per minute because they were promoting it. And so Toby got a little bit upset saying, you hacked our APIs. Apps are not supposed to live on the front end of a store. This was not how our APIs were intended to be used, which it's super interesting because now you go in the App Store, like every single app lives on the front end of a store. And that's always the job of an app developer. Like Apple apps push iOS to be better, right? Like it's, the app ecosystem pushes the platform. But internally, apparently about half of the team at Shopify, and it was only around 80 people at the time, so not a huge team. But Blair and Brendan told me this later on. They said about half of the people wanted to shut it down because they said, no, this is not how apps should work. And about half of the people said, this is awesome. Look at the reviews. It's all 5-star reviews. So there was a bit of debate, but internally then they decided to allow it, but introduced API throttling and rate limits and some other important factors for apps to function. But yeah, even this most current one that we're pushing out, it took 3 months to get approved by Shopify because they hadn't seen anything like it before. And we had to get on multiple phone calls and explain to them. And they would say, why isn't this a feature of subscriptions, or we don't get it. We don't get this app. And then after, like, and I wish I would have recorded the calls, because after I explained it to them every single time, and I don't want to say like certain people, but like you would know them, they'd say, "Oh, this is awesome. I would totally use this. This is amazing. I want this." But you're right, it doesn't exist, and it's pushing a boundary. And I love that, because like internally at our team is like fired up, because like during COVID, and yeah, you're right, we did expand onto other platforms for a bit. We kind of, I don't want to say like lost our way, but we like experimented in other areas, different things. And like, this is getting back to the core of who we are. We like push boundaries, innovate. And so I'm super excited for it. I'll personally show it to you very soon.
You know, we should chat partnership. I mean, not for a conversation, for a podcast, but
yeah, we'll do that off the air.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, that's awesome.
Absolutely. Well, Mac, I know we're running up against the wall here on your time. Any last things you want to say to our listeners? I know we could talk for hours, but like why someone might want to reach out to Domain. I know I can speak so highly of you. I know every time I talk to a brand, you get an email from me doing an intro, because I only intro brands to agencies I trust, that I know aren't going to bite me in the butt a year later and say, "Jay, why did you introduce me to them?" Like, I just know I can trust that introduction. But for someone that's never heard of you and doesn't trust my intro, what can you say about Domain, and then where can people go to learn more?
Sure. Thanks. Yeah. I think my advice for any brand in regard, like outside of Domain, but this is something that we do, is to like, and if someone's listening to this podcast, they're already doing that, but learn from your peers, and not just your peers, but people who are a little bit ahead of what you're doing. I think we often field the question of like, "Hey, what are your other clients doing for X? What are they doing for loyalty? What are they doing for subscription? How are they managing the slowdown?" And then, because we have this very specialized group of clients who are in this very specific segment of Shopify, we get to give like very detailed perspective and very niche, nuanced perspective about how we're all managing this together. And actually, we bring people together every year for our own client conference. We call it Curated. Last year we did it at Shopify's office in New York. And, we had like the ladies from The Row sitting there, but beside the ladies from Tuckernuck. These are both women's brands targeting the same age group, but very different buyers, and so like, they don't have, like, there's not much overlap. People who buy Tuckernuck dresses don't buy The Row dresses, but we got them in the same room, and we talked about both companies, and they had the same problems, and we got everyone just started sharing information with each other, right? And even across segment, a Fenty Beauty was sharing with our mattress company Hush. So like how do we talk about a beauty brand sharing with a home goods company? So I would encourage brand builders and people who are selling things online to learn from people who are maybe slightly ahead of their journey from themselves, put themselves in these kind of communities where they can learn from each other. We have one of these communities, but there are other ones that exist, and just keep going for it. Build a brand, build something for the long term. You're a brand, you're not a merchant, and taste is going to be the real differentiator in this market. So invest in your taste and how people feel about your company.
Yeah, so good.
And you can find us. We're Domain with an E in the end. You get meetdomain.com. Always interested to chat.
And sorry, which social platform are you most active on for people to follow you?
LinkedIn, Domain on LinkedIn, or Domain Studio if you're in the SMB and mid-market segment on Shopify. Both, we have LinkedIn presence on both.
Awesome. I'll put that all in the show notes. Mac, this has been such a pleasure. I had you on my list to reach out to for a long time, and it was just such a coincidence that you texted a few weeks ago. I'm so glad you did. Thank you for just being an amazing person in the space. It's honestly people like you that make this ecosystem so fun, and it's been such a journey. I feel like, it's been a journey together since that 2014 or our first interactions, and now to both be on the partner side and bumping into you at conferences is so fun. And so just really appreciate you as a person, and just wish you all the best with Domain, and keep kicking butt, man.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate you having me. And I feel really good knowing that there's people like me and you and Kurt and Pointer and all these people who have been there for 10, 12 years, 14 years, who are still around and still part of this community. I think that warms my heart. I really feel feel good. So I appreciate it. It's so fun to talk to you.
Yeah, I don't take it for granted. It is special. Okay, well, we'll do this again in the future. And thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you, Jake.